Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm going to be talking about my first 5-star read of 2019. I'm finding it very hard to find that elusive 5-star read this year, more so than ever. I've been reading lots and not finding anything that really just hits the heights for me. But that all changed this weekend. I went to my friend Janet's house. She has a channel here called Swirly Girly Reads. You should definitely check it out, she's brilliant. And we have very similar taste in reading in general. And I went for a lovely weekend at hers. She lives near Manchester and Liverpool, so we went to both. And we just had such an amazing time. And obviously a big majority of that time spent there was in bookshops. And one of the challenges we set ourselves on the first day was to pick books for each other that we think the other would like. So we bought each other some books, and I wanted to get something for both of us that we could sort of start reading that night. We'd both been feeling a bit slumpy after reading good books. We both needed something to just sort of get stuck in. We were going to spend the evening reading because that's what you do with your bookish friends. And so I found this book in the hardback new release section, and I just thought, I'm going to get this for us. It sounds brilliant, and I just think we're going to both enjoy it. And lo and behold, Janet is still yet to finish it, I think, but I read it in a day, and it is my first 5-star of the year. Let me read you the blurb, which is what initially drew me in, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about this book. It's called In the Deep End by Kate Davies. Okay, this is the blurb. Until recently, Julia hadn't had sex in 3 years. But now, a one-night stand is accusing her of breaking his penis, a sexually confident lesbian is making eyes at her over confrontational modern art, and she's wondering whether trimming her pubes makes her a bad feminist. Julia's about to learn that she's been looking for love and satisfaction in all the wrong places. Frank, filthy and very, very funny, In at the Deep End is a warm, brilliantly observed debut from a major new talent. And I totally agree with that. So our story is about Julia. She's our main protagonist, and as the blurb says, she hasn't had sex in 3 years. She's not sure why or what is going on. She lives with her best friend in a flat with her best friend and her best friend's long-term boyfriend, and she hears them having sex all the time through the walls. The walls are paper thin. They live in London, and she feels jealous, and she just doesn't know how to sort of get herself out of this rut. And then she ends up going to a party, a house party of some artists. She has this encounter with this quite confident lesbian and realises that she is a lesbian, and that is why she's been unable to sort of have these satisfactory experiences. And then we follow her on this journey through finding out, you know, what it means to be part of the lesbian community and to explore the sexual side of being a lesbian. I think what this really points out well is that any LGBTQIA plus relationship, often we, you know, as a heterosexual woman, I find it difficult to imagine what relationships would be like. And actually what I am thinking about purely is the sex, because that is different. You know, people have sex differently, or not sex, depending on the type of thing that works for them. But relationships, at the heart, at the core, relationships between two people can encounter all the same problems. There's very different ones that come up from, you know, depending on the type of relationship you're having, but there, you know, being a lesbian doesn't exclude you from having a toxic relationship. And I think it was explored really well in here, that idea of control and controlling relationships and finding what works for you. There is a look in at polygamy and you know, multiple partners. There's a look at the S&M scene. There is all sorts of different things explored here, and I think it was done really well. Our author is a lesbian. She's a married woman, and so this is own voices. Whether it's based on her own experiences, I don't know, it doesn't say, but it's written by a lesbian woman, so I feel like she knows what she's talking about. I think another bonus for this book is that it explores lesbianism from a point of an adult, sort of 20 plus something woman realising that, that. Often you see it in sort of coming in of age stories where people are learning about their sexuality. I haven't myself ever seen it happen in a sort of later life book in sort of your 20s, discovering that, which I thought was a really fresh and interesting perspective. A little warning, the sex scenes in here are quite explicit, but not in a gratuitous way, which I really, you know, they're not there to titillate the audience because, ooh, it's lesbians having sex. It was purely part of the story and part of what is going on and formed part of the whole narrative, which I thought was really good. Another plus, our main character sees a therapist, although she's a cheap therapist because it's all she can afford. She's a trainee therapist, but I love the frank conversations that this therapist has with her. Very unlike any sort of therapy patient relationship I've seen before, but really worked for Julia, and I really enjoyed seeing that. This had a very sort of lesbian Bridget Jones feel to it. It's that sort of tone to read the book, and although it starts out and every other page I was nudging Janet going, listen to this, it's so funny, oh have you read this bit, it's so funny, it moves from that slowly and just draws you in and draws you into this character, and there is so much more explored in here, but with that sort of light hand that I just thought it was really, really well done. I also liked that all the side characters in here are really well developed, and there's some really interesting family and friendship relationships being done. Her family are really interesting. Her dad is like this 60-something, I think, or maybe even 70s, I think 60s, delving into the land of YouTube for his professor talks, and I thought that was brilliant. And I thought that her friendships were really interesting. The one with the girl she lives with, who's in this long-term relationship, and the drama and the stress and pressure of sort of getting married and how that puts a toll on her relationship. There's the office work friend who is quite shy and doesn't know like where he is in relationships, and their bond there. And Julia's job, she works as a civil servant and she's sort of a contractor, and looking at that sort of idea of permanent work and what do you want to do for a job. There was so much in here, and it was just so well done. I loved it. I'd like to read you the beginning because I think, as well as reading that blurb, it's really interesting to hear a part of the book. So I'm going to read you a funnier part, and then I'm going to read you a more serious part. So the funny part, because obviously I want to avoid major spoilers, I'll read you the beginning. The chapters in this are very well labelled. This one is called Chapter 1, Sex Noises. One Saturday morning last January, Alice pointed out that I hadn't had sex in 3 years. I knew I'd been going through a dry patch. I'd been getting through vibrator batteries incredibly fast, and a few days previously I'd googled penis, just to remind myself what one looked like. But the full force of how much time I'd wasted not having sex hadn't hit me till then. The last time I'd had sex was nothing to write home about either, let me tell you. He was a 21-year-old editorial assistant from Alice's office with an unusually large forehead, and it happened after a terrible house party that left our flat stinking of pasties. I tried to take him to my room, but a couple were already in there dry humping on top of the duvet, so we did it on the fake leather sofa in the living room. I kept getting stuck to the sofa, sweat pooling in the gap beneath my lower back. I didn't think he'd ever fucked anyone before, so it was a bit awkward and thrusty, and he cried and hugged me for too long afterwards. It comes back to me in flashes all the time. I could be boarding a bus, washing my hair, or sitting on a particularly squeaky sofa when suddenly I see his clenched red face or his sweaty pubic hair and flinch involuntarily. Enough to put anyone off sex for, say, 3 years? To be honest, I'd always preferred the idea of sex to sex itself. In my imagination, I was experimental, confident, uninhibited, a biter of shoulders, a user of words like pussy. I could think about sex in the filthiest terms and speak frankly about it to friends. But when it came to actually doing it, or talking to someone I might do it with, I clammed up. I struggled to think of myself as sexy when I was with another person. I struggled to say sexy things with a straight face. It all felt performative to me, ridiculous, too far removed from the way I behaved in a non-sexy context, like I was playing a part in a porn film and playing it badly. I couldn't even flirt convincingly, certainly not when I was sober, which might go some way towards explaining why it had been so long since I'd fucked anyone. So that is the beginning. As you can see, there's quite explicit language and quite a lot of swearing, so that if that isn't for you, then obviously this isn't the book for you. But I just thought it was brilliant. Let me read you a bit that is a little bit more serious now. Okay, this is a bit, I won't tell you, you'll probably hear who the characters are, but yeah, just a little snippet to see a little bit of a change. One Saturday in early October, we were standing at the cake stall in Broadway Market, and she said, "I think we should take our relationship up a notch." And then before I had a chance to answer, "Don't get the lemon drizzle. We can make that at home. Go for the blueberry tart." "What do you mean?" I asked. "Well, it's just much harder to make. It has frangipane in it. Plus blueberries are more expensive than lemons." "No, I meant the relationship," I said, as the poor woman at the cake stall hovered in front of us uncertainly. "2 pieces of blueberry tart, please," Sam said, not looking at me. She handed over the money and led me by the hand to one of the vintage clothes stalls. "I think it's time we tried out some SM." "Just the 2 of us," I said. "For now, yes," she said. She tried on a tasselled leather jacket. "What do you think?" "It's a bit country and western." "Yeah, but I think I could pull it off." "Then go for it," I said. "Can we go back to the SM for a bit?" "Course, babes." "How will we do that?" "I have a few ideas," she said, handing over £30 for the jacket. "I'll surprise you with it. You'll feel totally worshipped, I promise. You are up for it, aren't you?" "I think so," I said. Sam pulled me towards her. The leather jacket smelled like the trip to Morocco I'd taken with Alice in the summer of our second year at uni. I was a little too aware it used to be a living creature. "You're delicious," Sam said. "You're going to make such a sexy submissive." "Isn't it your birthday the Saturday after next?" "Yes, but Alice said she'd cook dinner for everyone at ours." "Not anymore, she's not. Keep the whole weekend free, okay?" Now that seems like a really it doesn't seem like there's anything sinister or anything going on there, but that's just the tip of the iceberg in this idea of control and changing her plans and doing things for her. And I just thought that was really well done in here in such a fine, realistic way, where it's not caricaturing the characters. They're very interesting characters in themselves. They both have flaws. Our main character Julia has flaws, and I just thought, yeah, I can't rave about this one enough. If you're looking for a lesbian centric Bridget Jonesy type story that explores the idea of a lesbian relationship in with 26-year-old women, I just thought it was brilliant. So go get this one when you can. We have since realised, me and Janet, we looked it up, that it's not meant to be coming out till next week, so Waterstones must have had it in a bit early, so I was super lucky. But yeah, I definitely recommend this one. It is such a good read. My first 5 stars of the year. 5! So I'm going to be doing a few more of these because I think the 5 stars are going to be few and far between. So as I get a 5 star, I'm going to make an individual review video now, just letting you know my thoughts and giving you a bit more information. I hope the little readings I've done of that have given you an idea of the writing style as well. It's very chatty, and it's in first person, and it's quite fast, and just a really great adult contemporary read. As I say, I do want to point out, obviously there is quite explicit language, there's explicit sex scenes, there's quite a lot of swearing, so if that is a problem for you, don't pick this one up. But if you're like me, you're gonna love it. Anyway, that's it from me, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.